Hello, welcome to this lecture video. So today we are still going to continue our discussion with frequency measures. So let us go back to our material. So as I mentioned, we end up with what is proportion, and based from the given example here. So one particular proportion that is used in epidemiology is what we call a proportionate mortality. And we have here an example of a proportionate mortality. So which also includes the number and the ranks. So it contains actually brackets here, or rather categories, which includes all ages, and the other one is age 25 to 44 years old. So this is actually simply all causes, or the what do you call this, the sum of all the data here. So if you're going to add all other HIV disease, assault, chronic liver disease, and cirrhosis, and all other causes here, it will add up into 2,443, or rather 2,443,930. So this is the total, so which of course is 100%. And for you to compute now for the numbers here, or the proportionate mortality, so it is simply dividing the number, or rather the frequency in each of the causes, over the total number, which is 2,443,930, and multiplying it by 1,000, or rather, sorry, multiplying it by 100. So to show that, so let us see. So what I am trying to show you or to say is that, for example, for disease of heart, this is simply dividing 684,462 multiplied by 2,443,930 multiplied by 100. So in proportion, since we are talking about percent, it's a part of the whole, it's always 10 raised to n. So let us use our calculator. So just to show you that the result is 28. So we have 684,462 over 2,443,930. So if we calculate that, it is 0.28 multiplied by 100. The result is 28. So this 28 is, of course, written here. So if you will continue with the computation of this is simply dividing the numbers here, and the denominator is the 2,443,930. So for the case of age 25 to 44 years old, so the total is 128,924. So in the also computing for this, the denominator used is also the 924. Okay. And then next is rate. So we are already done with proportion, ratio, proportion. So now let us move to rate. So as mentioned before, rate is different from proportion, or rate is different from percent. So it is simply because what is the highlight here is that the population is defined over a specified period of time. So it does not actually mean that if you just know the number of population, that's it. Because what matters here is the specified period of time. And if you still recall, we also mentioned that we can use rate whenever that we have different, or rather, if we are considering now different groups, and the populations are not the same, so we can compute for measure and we can compute for the measure of risk by computing for the rate of these different groups. Though, however, we also use the word rate that has something to do with the speedometer of a car. Of course, we are not referring to that rate in epidemiology. So we have the following example: incidence rate, attack rate, prevalence rate, case fatality rate, and others. So this is the table that shows the summary of the commonly used epidemiologic measures. So it's actually divided into four columns just to show that it depends also on conditions, like if it's morbidity, mortality, or natality, that's birth. And what or if you we can see here in the table, as you notice, we do not have a ratio for birth. However, we have risk ratio, rate ratio, odds ratio, period prevalence for morbidity. While for mortality, we have death to rate ratio. So this one. While for proportion, we have the following proportion: attack rate, secondary attack rate, point prevalence, attributable proportion. That's for morbidity, while for mortality, we have the proportionate mortality. So for the commonly used epidemiologic measures, so for rate, so we have the following. For morbidity, it is a person time incidence rate, crude mortality rate, case fatality rate, cause specific mortality rate, age specific mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, infant mortality rate, and for birth, we have crude birth rate and crude fertility rate. So these are the commonly used epidemiologic measures. So we are going to discuss each of the different measure here in a separate video. So thank you for listening.